The Faraway Paladin begins when a teenage boy feels tired of his stagnant life, so he decides to end his own life by plunging into the deep ocean. After the boy died, he was reincarnated into another world where he was born as a boy named William. In the world of isekai, William is cared for and raised by 3 legendary former heroes who have become ghosts, mummies, and undead creatures. The ghostly grandfather named Augustus often taught William about the history of the gods and how to use witchcraft. The undead creature named Blood often teaches William how to fight on the battlefield and how to hunt for food to survive. Meanwhile, a female mummy named Mary is in charge of caring for William and teaching him about general knowledge. When William was 8 years old, Blood trained him to use the sword and fight in one-on-one duels. William has mastered some magic and sword techniques to withstand Blood's attacks well. Augustus and Blood seemed proud of William's progress so far. One day, William was curious about a strange sound coming from inside the temple where Mary used to pray to the goddess Mater. When opening the temple door, William saw Mary, who was being burned by a blue flame, so he immediately ran to save her. But William's careless actions ended up burning his hands, and he fell unconscious. After waking up from his stupor, William, still in a feverish condition, apologized to Blood and the others for being careless. Augustus then explains that the reason Mary was burned by the blue fire was that the bread that William had previously eaten was a gift from the goddess of fertility, Mater. However, after Mater found out that Mary, Blood, and Augustus had entered into a contract with the undead god named Stagnate, who was the enemy of Mater, Mary was punished for this violation. However, Mater still gave Mary a blessing bread for her loyalty, who always prayed to her even though she had to feel extreme pain. Hearing this, in a semi-conscious state, William intended to join in praying to Mater as a thank you for the gift of the bread. Time has passed and William is now 13 years old. Over the years, William learned many things from Blood, Augustus, and Mary to improve his strength and knowledge. After realizing that William has become stronger by the day, Blood decides to take him to the city of the dead so that he can train by fighting against the various undead creatures there. Upon arriving at a rock cave, William must face Augustus as an opponent to practice fighting. In the fight, Augustus said that he intended to kill him, so William, who heard about it, tried to fight Augustus with all his might and his best. After a fairly fierce battle, William was finally able to beat Augustus, but could not kill him because he already considered him a very valuable family. While crying, William invited Augustus to kill him because he could not injure his own family. But it turns out that Augustus only pretended to want to kill him so he could test William and find out his true feelings. Every day, William continued to practice using the sword and fighting to increase his strength and fighting ability more quickly. One day, Augustus asked William to go to the underground world of the city of the dead to collect gold and silver coins. But after William managed to collect many coins, Augustus and Blood taught him how to gamble so that they were scolded by Mary. Then when William was 15 years old, Blood and Mary invited him to perform an adult ritual. The maturity ritual is a ritual to determine which god William will choose as his guardian deity. A few days later, Blood invites William to drink wine together all night until they are both drunk and lose consciousness. Blood and William secretly peeked into Mary's room as they returned home and saw Mary changing clothes. As a result, William got a slap from Mary after their naughty actions were caught. On the next day, William and Blood again fought a one-on-one duel with William, who had full armor and weapons. William's abilities have significantly improved to allow him to match Blood's strength, but Blood can still withstand William's attacks and counter his attacks. However, even though William was still unable to defeat Blood, Blood felt very proud of his progress. After the duel was over, Blood gave William a high-level demon sword called the Overeater that was able to slash down gods and demons. The Overeater sword can absorb energy from the enemy and use that energy to increase attack power and speed. That afternoon, Blood told a little story about the history of meeting him, Mary, and Augustus. 200 years ago, there was great chaos in the world of isekai caused by the power and army of the King of Darkness named High King. The High King is feared by many demons and is known to be tough because he can create his own army using his own blood. Blood, Mary, and Augustus joined forces to attack the High King together. However, because the High King's strength was too great, they could not defeat him and Blood almost died in that fight. Fortunately, Mary and Augustus managed to trap and seal the High King in the underground world of the City of Death. Shortly after, the god of darkness appeared and offered them to become undead creatures or immortals so that they could continue to maintain the High King's seal in the city. The 3 of them accepted the offer and began a contract with the Stagnate so that they turned into high-level undead creatures. 200 years after that incident, several demons brought the human baby William to be handed over as a sacrifice to resurrect the High King. But before the demons could carry out the High King's resurrection ritual, Mary and Blood had managed to kill them first. From then on, they considered William as their son and decided to raise him together. That afternoon, not long after they told them about their history, Stagnate suddenly appeared from above the dark sky and intended to take the souls of Mary and Blood. However, Augustus blocks Stagnate's attack and prevents him from taking Mary's and Blood's souls. Augustus unleashed such a powerful magic attack with high-level magic that he managed to destroy Stagnate's shadow. But it turns out that Stagnate can still survive and immediately take the souls of Augustus, Mary, and Blood. Stagnate then explains that he must reclaim their souls as they have released their attachment to the High King's seal and establish a new bond with William's soul. Whereas in the contract they had previously agreed, Stagnate would only grant them immortality to keep the High King's seal. That was the reason the Stagnate insisted on taking their immortal souls back. Hearing this, William felt very sad and guilty for the three of them. After all, Mary, Blood and Augustus still lived by William's side as undead creatures even though their souls were no longer immortal. William was determined to protect the souls of the three of them with all his power. That night, before William fought the Stagnate, he prayed to the god of goodness for protection. Then when the battle started, William had to face the undead army created by Stagnate from the bodies of the dead undead. After seeing William's fighting ability, Stagnate seemed interested in William's potential and intended to recruit him as one of the commanders of the undead army. But when William approached Stagnate, instead of entering into a contract with Stagnate, he instead slashed Stagnate's body with the sword Blood had given him before. Unfortunately, William still lost the battle even though he had managed to injure Stagnate's body. While in Dreamland, William met the goddess of light named Grace Feel, who ruled over human life and death. Grace Feel then asks William why he didn't accept Stagnate's offer to become an immortal undead creature. William replied that he wanted to live fully with Mary, Blood, and Augustus even though he did not have eternal life. Hearing William's sincerity, Grace Feel decided to give protection to him so that when he woke up, he immediately took an oath of allegiance to Grace Feel. After William gained an overpowered power, he began to slaughter all of Stagnate's undead troops until Stagnate was cornered. In times of crisis, Stagnate runs to where Mary and the others are to steal their souls, because William has the power to save them. Fortunately, the goddess Mater suddenly appeared and protected the three in return for Mary's loyalty, who always prayed to her. In the end, with the help of Augustus and Blood, William manages to kill Stagnate with an overeater sword. Unfortunately, Mary and Blood will still be killed because they have violated the agreement of Stagnate. Before Mary and Blood left, they advised William to continue his adventure and live a happy life. Meanwhile, Augustus managed to survive because he had previously made a small agreement with the goddess Grace Feel to be allowed to live for another 10 years to keep the High King's seal. Before William went on an adventure to the human city, Augustus named him William Gus Mary Blood as a sign that they would continue living in his heart. On the way to the city, William met a hunting girl named Meneldor. Because they caught wild boars together, William shared the game's meat equally and enjoyed it together. Before Meneldor goes to another village, he gives directions to the nearest village to William. That night, William warns Grace Feel that there will be great chaos in the nearby village. As it turned out, the chaos was caused by Meneldor robbing the villagers and the other bandits. Knowing this, William immediately went to the village and fought Meneldor with other bandits so that he managed to capture them all in a very short battle. The next day, when Meneldor and the other bandits were about to be punished by the village head, they confessed that they had to do all this to get food supplies for their families. The village where Meneldor came from had been attacked by demons, so their villagers began to be hit by a catastrophe of hunger and thirst. Hearing this, William decided to help the village of Meneldor by donating money and food to the village's youth. Meanwhile, Meneldor will be hired by William to help him defeat the demons because he thinks that he has a capable fighting ability. The next day, William and Meneldor arrived at a village that had been attacked by demons. After Meneldor stalked the location of the whereabouts of the demons, William immediately rushed to slaughter all the demons in the village. After that, they prayed for the villagers who had been killed by the previous demons' attacks so they would not be turned into undead creatures. From that day on, Meneldor slowly began to trust William and became his first human friend. In the middle of the forest, William and Meneldor saw two people being chased and attacked by a black gorilla. But the giant gorilla was suddenly frightened and went away after seeing the look in William's eyes, which was very strong and frightening. William then managed to save a little girl who works as a musician named Robina Godfellow and an old man who works as a merchant named Antonio. After that, they went to a village to collect some money. Robina started to recite one more while Antonio started to trade some fruit. While resting and gathering together, Robina told a story about 3 legendary heroes who managed to defeat the High King. After she mentioned the names of the 3 legendary heroes, William quickly recognized that the heroes in the story were Mary, Blood, and Augustus. Robina recounted the moment when the 3 heroes were fighting a giant dragon to save a pair of elven children. After successfully overthrowing the giant dragon, Augustus gave the 2 elf children some money so they could survive and continue their lives elsewhere. 100 years after that incident, the elf child has grown into a noble who lives in a palace in the kingdom of Birthtale. To this day, the elf child still remembers the kindness of the 3 legendary heroes and feels very grateful to them. Hearing the story, William felt very touched and happy after realizing that Augustus, Blood, and Mary were still remembered by other humans. After that, William and the others continued their journey until they finally arrived at a quite prosperous city with more modern civilization. The city was filled with merchants from various lands and ruled by a very large and victorious empire. When William was enjoying delicious food in the city, suddenly a giant dragon appeared and destroyed the buildings in the city. All the townspeople were running around in fear, and there was great chaos all over the place. Seeing that, William and Meneldor combined their strength and tried to attack the giant dragon together. After a very fierce and exhausting battle, William was finally able to kill the dragon by breaking its neck. The villagers were happy and thanked William for his bravery in facing the giant dragon. In addition, a member of a high-ranking royal named Ethelbald also thanked William and allowed him to ask the kingdom for several things. Hearing this, William asked several soldiers from the royal army to accompany him to a forest that became the headquarters of dangerous demons. Ethelbald agreed to the request and intended to promote William as one of the paladin knights in the kingdom. A few days before William went to the Forest of Demons, he received a lesson from the royal priest and met a male adventurer named Raistov. William then invites Raistov to join his team to conquer the demons in the Forbidden Forest. The next day, Ethelbald inaugurated William as a paladin knight of the kingdom, and he received full support from the kingdom to slaughter the demons. The following day, William and the others set off with a troop of royal soldiers and adequate logistical supplies. Before going to his destination, William stopped by a village and distributed some donations to them so the villagers could return to living a safe and comfortable life without starvation. Shortly after, William received a report from one of the squad leaders that the surveillance group had disappeared. After being investigated, it turned out that the surveillance group troops had died from being attacked by a deadly giant monster. At the same time, the army led by Meneldor was attacked by an army of demons and a mighty giant demon lion. As a result, Meneldor was seriously injured and almost died from the sharp claws of the demon Sing. After seeing Meneldor's helpless body, William was furious and immediately slaughtered all the demon troops alone. After a fairly fierce battle, William finally managed to annihilate all the demons in that place and immediately returned to the kingdom while carrying Meneldor's badly injured body. Along the way, William kept crying because he felt very sad and felt guilty for what had happened to Meneldor. He thought that Meneldor would not be hurt this bad if he had not misjudged his strength. William had forgotten that he was used to facing demons and the army of the god of darkness alone, while Meneldor was still not used to fighting against an army of such strength. A few days later, William intends to continue his journey to hunt down the demons alone. But Meneldor, who had recovered, restrained William and insisted on going to fight with him. There was a fight between them, but Meneldor managed to realize William that they were friends who fought together, and he did not need to feel guilty for what happened to him yesterday. After successfully persuading William, Meneldor was determined to become stronger and more powerful so that he could help William defeat the demons. After that, William and Meneldor went with the other royal troops to hunt down the remaining demons in the forest area. William led the troops to fight the demons until they finally slaughtered them. Now William and Meneldor have to face a stronger demon king, so they unite their strength and fight against the demon king together. After the battle ended, William intended to rebuild the city of the dead and establish a human civilization in the city because it was the dream of Mary, Blood, and Augustus.